Hey everyone, Ronan here, and welcome back to the channel. We got a lot to cover today in this massive season premiere for What If Ash won the Pokemon World Championships. But before we get into that, as always, we got to shout out the YouTube channel member. So, the UMS Gaming 5699, thank you very much for your support. And as always, analytics are very important, so please don't forget to drop a like and a comment to help fuel the algorithm, so that way the video can get to a larger audience. And if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing and turn on notifications, so that way you'll never miss another upload from the channel. And if you like Pokemon What If content, then please head over to my Spotify, where I have a continuation to What If Ash and Paul travel to the Unova League, titled What If Paul Challenged the Kalos League. And also, if you want to support the channel even further, please consider becoming a YouTube channel member or a patron. You get exclusive access to things that I don't post on the main channel, like what you see here, and early access to everything else that I do. But with all that being said, let's get into the reason why we're all here. What If Ash won the Pokemon World Championships Season 7, the Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl Journeys. I hope you enjoy. In the distant mists of a forgotten age, over 4,000 years in the past, the very fabric of the world was still being woven. It was into this nascent era that Arceus, the original one, emerged to establish its sacred kingdom upon the earth, a pristine sanctuary separate from the flawed realms of mortals. This hallowed ground was never meant for human feet, its soil never to be tilled by human hands. So, when tribes of humanity, fleeing the brutal and endless wars of other regions, dared to cross into the divine refuge seeking shelter, a profound and righteous anger ignited within the Creator. Their presence was a desecration, an unbearable stain upon the purity of its celestial domain, a direct defiance of the natural order it had decreed. This transgression could not be met with mere banishment. The offense required absolute purification, and so, from its own boundless essence, Arceus conjured forth 10 singular entities, the designated protectors of the land. Their genesis was one of a singular, terrifying purpose: to hunt down and exterminate the human infestation without pity or pause. Understanding the cunning and resilience of the species it sought to erase, Arceus endowed each one of the 10 with a shimmering fraction of its own cosmic power, elevating them far beyond any ordinary beast, and forging them into perfect instruments of divine retribution. With a command given, the protectors went forth, a relentless tide of judgment to scour the kingdom clean. Their grim duty underway, Arceus departed the mortal plane, leaving his created realm under the eternal, watchful guard of his chosen 10. A millennia would come to pass. Though hunted to near extinction in the Creator's kingdom, the shadows of a human war stretched across the globe, a blight of conflict that culminated in a cataclysm. The firing of an ultimate weapon drew destruction to the planet like a venom moth to a flame, a celestial spear of ruin aimed at the very heart of the world. This meteor drew the kingdom of the Creator, a direct assault on the sanctum of Arceus itself. In that final, desperate moment, the call of the 10 protectors summoned Arceus to shield its domain. The Creator intervened, saving its kingdom, but the cost was immense. The struggle stripped Arceus of its plates of power, and nearly its life, leaving the alpha Pokemon broken, falling to the land it had just saved, forced to cling to existence. For days it lay, its life force ebbing, until help arrived from the most unlikely of places, a human named Deimos, who Arceus was forced to task with the gathering of the scattered plates. Yet a mortal could not hope to channel their divine energy. Deimos needed the aid of those who had once been his people's hunters. A human whose kind had nearly been hunted to extinction by the 10 protectors now had to rely on them, and Arceus had no choice but to place its fate in the hands of this man. Without hesitation, Deimos chose to act unselfishly, embarking on a monumental quest to enlist the very forces that had once been his enemy. It took many years of traveling, a solitary figure seeking out the 10 noble creatures, one by one, with each protector who joined his cause, convinced by his pure heart and the dire need of the Creator. Another sliver of Arceus' power was recovered and returned. The long journey yielded all but one plate, a single fragment of power that could not be found. Deimos feared that this loss would rekindle the legendary rage of Arceus, a fury once directed at all of humanity. Yet the Creator's heart had been changed. Having its life saved by a human act of profound selflessness, Arceus' opinion had shifted. In a gesture of gratitude, Arceus allowed Deimos and the last of his people to remain in the sacred kingdom, even gifting Deimos the Jewel of Life, a means to turn the harsh land into a haven. An alliance was forged, a new covenant where the 10 protectors would no longer be the hunters of humans, but their guides and aides, allowing humanity to finally conquer and settle the land they had come to call Hisui. The Jewel of Life granted Deimos the power to terraform, to shape the very earth to his will, and he did not merely change his immediate surrounding. He reshaped any land touched by human activity, and with his divine gift, humanity spread like a virus across Hisui. The settlements swelled from village to towns, their influence scarring the pristine wilderness in a mere decade. When Arceus, its strength returned, came to reclaim the jewel as promised, the humans it had uplifted and entrusted repaid its grace with betrayal. Struck down by the very hands it had saved, the Creator, wounded and heartsick, was forced to retreat to its own dimension to heal. The recovery would take nearly 3,000 years, and in that long silence, a bitter resentment festered. Arceus watched as the human blight it had permitted festered and spread, infecting not just its kingdom, but the entire world. The memory of betrayal curdled curdled into a cold, cosmic wrath. Eventually, Arceus would act, deciding the time had come to purge the blight, to scour the world clean of the faithless infected. Yet, the wounds of the past ran deep, and it was not yet strong enough to enact its final judgment directly. So instead, Arceus would use its remaining power to influence the very fabric of reality, to bend the threads of destiny to its will. It unleashed its fury not with its own hands, but through its vassals, chosen instruments of divine retribution. However, even creation itself must abide by a balance, a counterforce to absolute wrath, and so, from across the flow of time, a balance would be sent, a hero who, even if they had been summoned from another age, would stand against the storm to challenge the vengeance of a betrayed creator.
The air in the Lumiose terminal is thick with the scent of engine oil and goodbyes. Ash, Goh, and Chloe have one last moment with Serena and their companions, Clemma and Bonnie, before their flight back to Galar. Chloe's Eevee, sensing the somber mood, nuzzles against her leg, but its usual spark seems dimmed. Serena's own Eevee, the now graceful ribbon-fashioned Sylveon, thrills a gentle greeting, and Chloe can't help but to feel a fresh pang of uncertainty. "It's so beautiful, Serena," Chloe murmurs, her voice barely above a whisper, as she watches Sylveon's feelers gently entwined with Serena's hand. I don't understand. My Eevee has been surrounded by so many evolution stones, by so much power, and nothing happens. I look at Sylveon and I feel like I'm failing my partner. I felt so lost these past couple of weeks, like I'm missing a page from an instruction manual everyone else has. Serena kneels down, her voice soft with understanding. She places a reassuring hand on Chloe's shoulder. "Chloe, look at me," she says, her voice firm yet kind. "Maybe your Eevee doesn't need to evolve. Maybe its path is different, and that's okay. The only way you can be certain, the only way you'll ever really know what the future holds for you two, is just to keep traveling. Keep searching for the answers together." The words hang in the air. A new possibility where before there was only a dead end, giving Chloe a profound sense of clarity to carry on with her own journey home. As Chloe steps back, lost in thought, Ash and Serena share a quiet glance, a universe of unspoken memories passing between. "So, you're really going to challenge Leon," Serena says, a proud smile gracing her lips. Ash grins, that familiar fiery determination lighting up his face. "You know it. It's going to be the toughest battle yet." Serena's smile widens. "I'll be rooting for you the entire time. I know you can do it." Ash scratches the back of his neck, his confidence unwavering as he returns the sentiment. "And you're going to capture the Kalos Queen title this time, Serena. I know it. You've got this." The simple, unwavering faith in his voice makes her heart swell. Nearby, Karina bounces forward, Lucario at her side. "Ash, before you go, I have something for you," she exclaims, holding out a small, carefully wrapped package. He opens it to find the gloves he had worn that belonged to Sir Aaron, but they've been expertly altered. They're now fingerless, and stitched seamlessly into the back of the right one is a perfect housing for his keystone. Ash stares at the gift with a faint smile. He looks from his gloves to his Lucario, whose own eyes are wide with a shared sense of reverence. "Karina." "Thank you," Ash says, his voice thick with emotion. This means more than you could ever know. To both of us." A little way off, Goh shuffles his feet, gathering his courage before approaching Horace. "Horace, I need to apologize," he begins, his gaze fixated on the floor, "for how I acted. You almost lost your life because of me. I just froze up." Horace places a gentle hand on Goh's shoulder, forcing the younger boy to meet his eyes. "Goh, I understand the fear. Everyone would. If our positions were reversed, if you had been the one in danger, I would have reacted in the same way. Panic is a powerful, hard thing to overcome." He gives Goh's shoulder a reassuring squeeze. "Just promise me that you won't let that fear hold you back again. Promise you'll keep moving forward." Goh takes a deep, steadying breath, his own resolve hardening. "I promise." With final waves and calls of "see you later" echoing through the terminal, a phrase carrying far more hope than a simple goodbye, the groups part ways. Ash, Goh, and Chloe turn towards their gate, each carrying a new piece of wisdom, a new promise, and a new direction. The bonds forged in Kalos strengthened by their resolve for the paths that lie ahead. A few days later, the familiar, looming scent of Pallet Town's air fills their lungs, a comforting blanket after the whirlwind of their recent journeys. Ash breathes it in deeply, the knot of homesickness that had been tightening in his chest finally beginning to loosen. It always smells like this after a rain, he murmurs to Chloe, a soft nostalgic smile playing on his lips. It smells like coming home. Their destination is not his childhood house, however, but the sprawling, vibrant fields behind Professor Oak's laboratory. He needs to see his mom, yes, but more urgently, he needs to be surrounded by the family that he's built, one captured Pokemon at a time. As he steps onto the grassy knoll, a chorus of joyful cries erupts. A blur of white fur and orange flames is the first to reach him. Infernape slamming into Ash with a happy, rumbling cry, its head flames flickering with pure delight. But the reunion is momentarily paused, as a new presence makes itself known. As from within the group of Pokemon that Ash has brought back with him, Greninja steps forward, its quiet, observant demeanor a stark contrast to the boisterous energy of the others. A low, curious murmur ripples throughout the gathered Pokemon. This is the one they had heard about from Ash's other Kalos Pokemon. Ash grins. Hey everyone, this is Greninja. He fought with us in Kalos. Then remember a long-awaited promise? He raises another Pokeball. And it's time for another friend to come home too. With a flash of red light, the magnificent, fully evolved form of Pidgeot materializes, its vast wings casting a graceful shadow over Ash. It has returned home. It has returned to its flock. It is amidst this joyful chaos that Infernape's instincts ignites. Its gaze, sharp and focused, locks onto Greninja, and then flickers over to Lucario, who stands poised and ready, sensing the challenge in the air. Infernape lets out a short, sharp cry, pounding its fists into its palm. A plume of fire erupts from its crest. It can sense it. A latent, untapped power thrumming within the two of them. A strength born of unique bonds. It wants to test that strength, to feel it for itself. The paws of Lucario crackle with aura in immediate response, a low growl of agreement rumbling in its chest. Greninja simply gives a single, slow nod, its webbed hand already forming a ghost of a water shuriken. The challenge is issued and accepted. However, before the first move can be launched, the very air itself seems to shudder. A powerful downdraft whips across the field, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. A shadow falls over them, and with an earth-shaking thud, a familiar orange-scaled titan lands, its powerful wings folding against its back. Charizard has returned, its eyes filled with the same familiar arrogance, but now edged with a newfound formidable power, sweep over the three would-be combatants. It scoffs a puff of black flames raising from its nostrils, as if to say, "You want to test? Then test yourselves against me." The unspoken challenge is a thunderclap, instantly reshaping the battlefield. The one-on-one desire vanishes, replaced by a singular electric understanding. This will be a four-way clash of champions. The battle erupts not with a shout, but with a silent collective understanding. Charizard, Infernape, Lucario, and Greninja explode into motion. A whirlwind of flames, aura, and water. They are a storm of power, each holding their own in a breathtaking display. Charizard's newly honed attacks carve a path through the air, while Infernape's close combat is a blur of devastating speed. Lucario dances through the chaos, its meteor mash a silver streak, while Greninja vanishes and reappears, its double-team clones disorienting everyone. But in the heat of it all, Lucario makes a fatal miscalculation. As Charizard unleashes a searing flamethrower, and Infernape follows up with a blistering close combat, Lucario's focus wavers for a split second, its aura sensing distracted by the impossibly calm, centered aura emanating from Greninja, who stands poised amidst the storm. That moment of hesitation is all Infernape needs. It closes the distance, and with a devastating focus strike, its close combat finds its mark. Lucario stumbles, falls, and does not get up. Now it is down to 3. Charizard and Greninja immediately square off. The age-old rivalry of fire and water reignited in an instant. Charizard pushes hard, its entire being dedicated to testing its new power against this legendary Kalos warrior. A blistering flamethrower meets a spiraling water shuriken in a cataclysmic clash of steam and force. Seeing an opening, or perhaps simply unable to contain their own burning battling spirit, Infernape roars and joins the fray, its body becoming a meteor of pure fire as it launches a flare blitz directly into the epicenter. For a single suspended moment, the 3 ultimate attacks, flamethrower, water shuriken, and flare bits, collide. The resulting explosion of energy is a blinding concussive sphere of steam, fire, and raw power that forces everyone back, ending in a perfect, breathless stalemate. The sheer, unbridled spectacle of it all, the pure joy of combat radiating from their 4 strongest, acts as a spark to tinder. A single unified cry rises from the dozens of other Pokemon watching it from the sidelines. It's not a cry of anger, but of pure, infectious excitement. And then the entire field erupts, Kingler snapping its pincers. Bulbasaur's Vine Whip shoot out. Snorlax gives a ground-shaking bellow as it wakes itself up. A free-for-all. A glorious, chaotic, beautiful melee of every one of Ash's Pokemon begins, not as competitors, but as a celebration. A roaring, fiery, watery, thunderous welcome home. However, amidst the celebration and chaos that is this battle free-for-all, there is one that is still having trouble with everything, being Lucario, since it was knocked out so fast. The Aura Pokemon merely sits up, watching all of Ash's Pokemon begin to test each other's strength, unsure on where it fits in this puzzle, and exactly what its relationship is with Ash, now that there is a Pokemon that shares an equally as strong bond with him. that has returned. With Ash finding a new center with his Pokemon, the tremors from the excitement can be felt in Professor Oak's lab in the distance. With electric cheers of Ash's training battle outside, a muffled backdrop to the quiet conversation unfolding amidst the humming monitors and stacks of research, Chloe and Goh find a moment of respite, cornering the professor and Tracy near a bank of screens still flickering with the elegant images of a filmed Inteleon. Goh, his brow furrowed in concentration, holds up the notepad, displaying Tracy's own sketch notes. "Tracy, about these notes here," Goh begins, his voice cutting through the absent noise. "You wrote that Drizzle's energy patterns have been oscillating wildly, but with a strange purpose. What did you mean by that?" Tracy adjusts his shirt, his gaze thoughtful, as he looks from the notes to Goh's eager face. "Well, you see, I had been sketching Drizzle's behavior," Tracy states, the tone measured and observant. "And the way I see it, I think Drizzle wants to evolve, but it's something they can't force. It has to come from within." He gestures towards the monitor where the Inteleon had been. "I suspect that the way Drizzle responded to the movie that was on the monitor that had Inteleon, its whole posture changed. It wasn't just watching, it was yearning." A spark ignites in Goh's eyes, the puzzle piece snapping into place with an almost audible click. The memory of that painful forced evolution and the rift it caused washes over him, making the moment of quiet understanding all the more profound. That's it," Goh murmurs, his voice thick with realization. He looks at Tracy, a grateful smile breaking through his pensive expression. "Thank you for the insight. It all makes sense now." As Tracy nods in understanding, Goh feels a warmth spread throughout his chest. After what happened in Kalos, Goh feels like he and Drizzle have connected more now than ever. This shared, unspoken understanding, a balm on old wounds. Sensing a familiar thread in the conversation, Chloe steps forward, her Eevee cradled protectively in her arms. "Professor Oak," she says, her voice softer, laced with a few concerns that are uniquely hers and the thoughts of Serena in her mind. "My Eevee, we've been in so many situations with evolutionary energy, around so many different stones, and nothing's happened. It's like it doesn't even register." Professor Oak hums, stroking his chin as he peers down at the content little Pokemon nestled against Chloe. "Fascinating," he murmurs, his voice a warm, grounding presence. "It seems that much hasn't changed since the last time you were here. But I've seen this before in the past. Some Pokemon become so content with the way that they are, they don't feel the need to evolve. They achieve a state of perfect equilibrium, a complete satisfaction with their own identity. Eevee may be one such anomaly, unable to evolve not from a lack of power, but from an abundance of self." These words echo the same sentiment that Serena had told her, just in a different light. Chloe takes this under advisement, the professor's words settling over her like a gentle fog, and she begins to think about Oak and Serena's words. She looks down at Eevee, who meets her gaze with a serene, unblinking stare, and she wonders if its refusal to change isn't a block at all, but the most profound form of communication. The battle cries from outside fade into nothing as she holds her partner closer, the mystery of its own heart unfolding not as a problem to be solved, but as a story to be understood. The next day, after a well-earned night's sleep with a meal that only Ash's mom could cook, our heroes find the salt kiss of winds and the stale sea whips around the ferry's deck, carrying the sharp cries of Wingull and the low thrum of the ship's engine. The trio is bound for the Crown Tundra, a new adventure on the horizon. Ash leans against the railing, Pikachu a warm familiar weight on his shoulder, but his attention is snagged by a flickering holographic screen mounted near the ship's bow. It is an advertisement for the upcoming Coronation series. We're playing a marquee match. Flint of the Sinnoh Elite Four, his fiery red hair a beacon, versus the grizzled, seasoned Drake of the Orange Islands. "Look at that, Pikachu," he says, his voice bright with excitement. Flint and Drake. They watch, captivated, as the battle unfolds on the screen. Flint's Infernape is a whirlwind flame, but Drake's Dragonite is an immovable mountain, weathering the storm with ancient, practiced grace. A devastating Hyper Beam cuts through the fire, and Infernape stumbles, falls. The screen flashes, declaring Drake the victor. A moment later, the global ranking updates with a sharp ping. Flint's face plummets from his elite position down to 25, while Drake's portrait climbs steadily to claim the 12th spot. Goh, who had been scanning the water for a rare sighting, turns at the collective gasp from the spectators. He squints at the updated rankings. I thought Drake was higher than that," he comments, a frown creasing his brow. "Wasn't he in the top 8 for sure?" He was, Ash confirms, his earlier excitement tempered by a more serious, thoughtful tone. His gaze is fixed on the screen, on the numbers that now define the trainers he admires. But just like my rank, the top trainers of the world, they seem to change all the time. The names and numbers are a constant shifting puzzle, a sea of rivals rising and falling. His eyes drift to the very top of the list, to the one fixed, unchanging point in the entire chaotic system. The only one that hasn't changed since he was crowned monarch is Leon. The name hangs in the air between them, a goal and a ghost all at once. Ash feels a familiar fire igniting his gut, a competitive urge that clenches his fists. "We got some work to do," he says, the words more for himself than his friends. "The clock is ticking. It's 3 weeks until the Coronation tournament begins, and to even get a shot at Leon, they need to climb, to fight, to improve their rank with every single battle." But as the thought of Leon solidifies, so does a colder, dense feeling in the pit of Ash's stomach. His mind flashes back, the chaotic, unnatural glow of Dynamax Pokemon in his battles with Team Rocket, the sinister truth behind the Dynamax pills, and the chilling revelation that it was all the doing of Macros Cosmos, the very company that sponsors Leon, the man he calls his idol and his goal. The urge to challenge Leon, to test his strength against the very best, is a powerful magnetic pull, yet it is now entangled with a knot of unease, a silent, formless danger he can't seem to put into words. Ash feels torn right down the middle, the bright dream of a championship battle shadowed by the memory of corporate betrayal. He glances at Chloe's curious expression and Goh's determined one. Now isn't the time, he decides. He'll carry this weight himself, for now. Our hero forces a confident smile, pushing the worry deep down, where it won't be trouble to his friends. But we'll be ready, he declares, turning his face back towards the endless, rolling sea. With a ripple of Ash's memories between the present and the past, we ride them to a few weeks before this moment. Spikemouth is as sharp and cold as the Galarian sea mist. One moment, Iris is here, in the dust of Turffield, her hands raw against a wooden grip of her shovel. The next, her mind flashes over the damp industrial outskirts. She stands with Looker, his trench coat a stark silhouette against the chain-link fences and graffitied walls of the derelict city. The pills, Looker, she says, her voice low, cutting through the salty wind. Rose's operation. It's not just a prototype anymore. He's moving them into mass production. Looker's face, perpetually etched with a world-weary grimace, tightens. This is the most problematic development, he replies, the words measured. It points a very direct finger, a connection to Giovanni. For all we know, they may have been partners from the very beginning. Iris feels a chill that has nothing to do with the weather. Looker offers a curt nod. Thanks for the intelligence. I'll delve deeper into this web. He then turns, the fabric of his coat whipping around him. But for now, I must depart. An old friend in the Alola region requires my attention on separate matters. Iris nods, the weight of their shared secrets settling on his shoulders. I'll be in Turffield if you need me, she calls out as he melts into the shadows. And just like that, the memory fades, dissolving back into the sun-baked, frustrating present. The echo of Looker's warning replaced by the relentless scrape of her shovel against ancient dirt. Iris has been trapped in this cycle for weeks. A handful of Coronation battles fought, a few wins notched, but her rank remains stubbornly infuriating low, a far cry from the top 32. The stagnation is a special kind of torture, tearing her in 3 different directions. The solemn duty to Unova as its champion, sacred promise she made to the Elder, and her own raw, primal urge to just battle. And always, like a persistent whisper at the back of her mind, is the thought of him, Ash. She can almost see him, somewhere out in the world, growing stronger, climbing the global rankings with the relentless passion of his. The image has been eating away at her since their parting, a constant gnawing reminder that she is here, stuck, while the world moves on. The dig site in Turffield is her purgatory. She came with a single purpose, to get information from Sonia about the mysterious box the Elder had entrusted her with, the symbol of her new leadership. But Sonia, with her boundless, frantic energy, had been far more insistent on Iris contributing to the historical process, which in practice meant being conscripted as a low-level laborer in Sonia's madhouse excavations. Iris is a champion, a dragon master, reduced to moving dirt, while her region and her own ambitions wait. She is reaching her absolute breaking point. She needs the information on the box now, so she can find Kirim and finally return home to protect Unova. A guttural growl of pure frustration rips through her throat. With a loud clang, she hurls her shovel to the ground, the metal head biting into the dry soil. Her fists are clenched, her resolve steeled. She will march over to Serena's tent and demand what she is owed. But as she takes her first furious steps, she stops dead in her tracks. A shadow passes over her, large and fast. Her eyes attuned to all things dragon snap upward. Soaring through the azure sky is a Dragonite, its powerful form cutting a graceful path before it descends, touching down with a surprising gentle in the very heart of the dig site, sending a plume of dust in the air. The laborers gasp and murmur. But Iris's attention isn't on the magnificent dragon, it's on the man dismounting its back, the flowing crimson cape, the stern, authoritative brow, the air of unshakable power. It's Lance, the champion of Kanto. His voice deep and commanding cuts through the chatter. I need to speak with whoever's in charge here, immediately. The demand sends a visible wave of panic through the archaeologists. Lance is a man who commands attention simply by existing, his presence as heavy as a storm front. But Iris's initial shock crystallizes into a single certain thought. If Lance is here, in this remote dig, it has everything to do with why she is here. The box, the legends, the looming threat. It's all connected somehow. Her personal confrontation with Sonia is forgotten, replaced by a new urgent objective. Iris needs to hear that conversation. Her amber eyes narrow, fixed on the tent where Sonia, looking flustered but intrigued, ushers the Dragon Master inside. The plan begins to form in her mind, a calculated risk of stealth and opportunity. How can she get close enough to eavesdrop without being caught by one of the most perceptive trainers in the world? With Iris hunting for answers, we shift south. The chill of the Crown Tundra is a welcome shock after the humid air of the mega island jungle. The sharp pine-scented wind whipping through Chloe's hair as she stands beside her father. The silence between them is heavy, not with discomfort, but with the weight of unspoken discoveries. Finally, Chloe finds her voice, the words tumbling out in a hushed, eager torrent. "Dad, on the island, with the plate. I think I'm starting to understand something about Kalos." Professor Cerise turns, his expression one of keen interest, and she begins to weave the tale. She describes the ancient, weathered stone, the way it seemed to hum with a latent power, and the strange, almost musical resonance it had with the local Pokemon. It wasn't just a historical artifact, she insists, her eyes aligned with the scholar's fire. The energy it gave off, it felt pure, but in a way that was potent. It made me think of all the unique variotypes we've documented that are native to Kalos, like Flabebe and Sylveon. What if the region itself, because of the plate, became a cradle for that specific typing? What if it shaped the very ecosystem? Ash, who had been listening while stroking Pikachu's back, nods vigorously, a familiar determined glint in his eye. "Yeah, that makes sense. Lucario told me that it could feel some crazy rainbow-colored energy swirling around the plate. It was super powerful, but it felt ancient, like it was part of the world." Professor Cerise strokes his chin, his gaze turning inward, grappling with the enormity of the idea. A plate that doesn't just hold power, but potentially influences the fundamental nature of Pokemon within a region? The implications are staggering. How is it all tied together? The Dynamax phenomenon here in Galar, Mega Evolution in Kalos, and now the Fairy-type energy? He lets out a slow breath, the burden of cosmic mysteries settling on his shoulders. "You've all given me a great deal to ponder. But for now, you've earned your rest. Let's continue this with clear heads in the morning." But before they retire, Ash tells the professor about his theory on the plate, and how it belonged to the creator of the world, Arceus. Cerise finds this fascinating as Ash reveals a tale of time travel from the time that he had spent in the Sinnoh region. The professor, having a thought, asks Ash if he can see his Rotom phone. With any luck, Rotom recorded the energy that was coming from the plate. Ash hands it over, and Cerise tells the boy he will have it back to him within a few hours. Ash nods and joins Chloe and Goh to go get some food from Chloe's mother. Later that night, the lights in the small research outpost have dimmed. Rest proves to be a fickle thing. Ash lies awake on his bed, staring at the wooden slats on the ceiling, the events of the past week playing like a film behind his eyes. A soft rustle from the neighboring bed tells the boy that he isn't alone. "Can't sleep either, Goh?" Goh's silhouette shifts in the dark. "How could I? Every time I close my eyes, I just see that rainbow energy, or Team Galactic, or how strange Gengar looked after a Dynamax during the battle." His voice is a whisper, charged with relentless energy. A hidden resolve solidifies in Ash's voice, low and steady. "Tomorrow, I think we should head north." He rolls over to face his friends, the shadows hiding his face, but not the conviction in his tone. "It's time. We need to find out what really happened with Gengar and Kalos, and what that form was all about. That's the next piece of this." There's a beat of silence, and then a knowing smile is audible in Goh's reply. "North? You mean to see Alistair?" In the darkness, Ash's own grin is a bright, unmistakable thing. "That's right. Just another step on our journey, and one step closer to it being over." This purpose finally gives Ash's racing mind permission to quiet. Only one of the boys, drifting into a deep, anticipatory sleep, the mysteries of Dynamax awaiting them just beyond the dawn. However, Goh just lays there, wondering what his next move is. As the boys fade to sleep, we flash just outside. A brutal, unnatural cold seeps into their bones the moment they step into the Crown Tundra. This isn't the crisp chill of a mountain's peak. This is a deep, persuasive freeze that clings to the very air in Freezington. Looker and Nanu trudge through the powdery snow, the silence of the tiny sleeping town pressing in on them. The only sounds are the crunch of their boots and the low, miserable groan from the older men. It has been a considerable amount of time since our last visit to this particular location. Looker muses, his voice pluming in the glacial air, his words as formal and slitted as ever. Nanu pulls his Alolan hoodie tighter, a stark contrast to the wintry landscape. "I hate this," he grumbles, his voice a low rasp. "I miss the sun. I miss the sea. I'm beginning to feel like my old bones are going to snap like icicles. I never should have left Alola." Regrettably, the whims of the wicked wait for no man. Not even for a kahuna dreaming of his beach, Looker replies, his gaze scanning the dark cottages. "Our only visible lead, the singular thread is in this tangled web, terminates here. Besides, he has a slight shift in his tone as he gestures to his own chest. Our newly acquired associate is most insistent on this point. A small green-headed composed of a hexagonal cell pokes out from the collar of Looker's trench coat. Zygar's cord surveys the village, its single eye glowing with a soft, concerned light. This place is off, it communicates, its voice a psychic hum that resonates directly in their minds. The natural order is disrupted. The aura of this land, it is unsettled. Twisted. Looker gives a slow, grim nod, his usual eccentricity subdued by the gravity of the moment. The sentiment is mutual, my small friend. A palpable disquiet hangs in the air, a feeling of wrongness. Their destination is a slightly larger building at the end of a lone path. As they approach, the door swings open inward before a fist can even be raised to knock, farming the wary, knowing figure of the mayor of Freezington. He stands there, bundled in furs, his expression not of one of surprise, but of resigned expectation. Figured you two would eventually show up, the mayor says, his voice heavy with a fatigue that has nothing to do with the late hour. No words are exchanged between the Interpol agent and the island kahuna. A single shared glance is all it takes, a flicker of eyes, a slight tightening of jaws. They are both thinking the exact same thing. He was waiting for us. The pieces, already unsettling, click into more ominous configuration. Nanu steps forward, his previous complaints shed, replaced by the grim authority of his station. We need to talk, he states, his tone leaving no room for argument. The mayor simply nods and steps aside. As Looker and Nanu cross the threshold into the warm interior, a heavy wooden door begins to swing shut, sealing them inside. A solid thud of it closing echoes faintly in the silent valley. High above, on a windswept cliffside that overlooks the tiny, vulnerable town, a pair of ancient, intelligent eyes watch. Crowned and regal, Calyrex stands motionless, the psychic aura of its kingdom an extension of its own being. It had felt the disturbance, the ripple of another sovereign power entering its realm. Its gaze is fixed on the now closed door of the mayor's house, seeing not the wood and nails, but the potent green life force of Zygarde within. The king is aware. War is at the doorstep of the kingdom. The next day, the crisp morning air of the crowned tundra is a memory, now replaced by the rhythmic clatter of steel on steel, as the train carves a path north through the Galar countryside. Inside, the atmosphere is a tapestry of 3 distinct moves. Chloe gazes out of the window, a newfound determination in her eyes, her Eevee curled contently in her lap. Serena's advice, keep traveling, see what the future holds for you two, echoes in her mind. A welcome map for a summer that suddenly feels full of possibilities. Across from her, Ash vibrates with a familiar, relentless energy, his gaze fixated on some distant point only he can see. Alistair's gonna be so surprised to see us, he exclaims, fist clenched with excitement. I can't wait to get to Stoneside and have an epic battle. I want to see exactly what Alistair's battle style is like. His words are bright and loud, filling the space. Then there's Goh. He sits quietly, a stark contrast to the storm brewing silently within. Ash's words from last night, when our journey's done, have reopened an old familiar pit in his stomach, a hollow ache of impending goodbyes he thought he had outgrown. He's gotten better these days, at plastering a smile, at tucking the loneliness away where no one can see. But there's one that can always see it. Drizzile sits beside him, not curled, but alert, his crimson eyes fixed on his trainer's profile. A profound shift has occurred since the raw emotional fallout in Kalos. Goh's own turmoil, his confessed feelings of failure and getting everything wrong, has resonated deeply with the creature, whose world was once similarly shattered by the forces beyond its control. In Goh's quiet despair, Drizzile found a reason to come out of its own and share understanding that needs no words. It is in this heavy silence that a notification chimes away from Goh's Rotom phone. The screen illuminates his face. His eyes widen slightly as he reads. Jacqueline, he murmurs, the name of the movie star feeling foreign on his tongue. She's going to be in Stoneside for a movie shoot. He doesn't just see a celebrity sighting. He sees a thread, a potential answer to a question that has haunted them both. He looks from the phone to Drizzile, whose ears have twitched at the name. A flicker of something. Recognition, curiosity, and its usually impassive gaze. Goh's mind races, piercing through the fragments from Tracy's detailed notes. The story of a trainer and Pokemon bound by performance. A bond broken by ambition. That's it, Goh whispers more to himself than Drizzile. Maybe she can offer some clarity. He meets his Drizzile stare, and in that shared look, a new urgent mission is born. Its destination the same as Ash's, but its purpose a world apart. As the train speeds north, we shift a world away. The biting winds that sweeps down from the village of the Dragon's Peaks does little to deter the figure standing in its shadows. Pierce stands motionless, a stark silhouette against the rustic charm of the settlement, his gaze fixated on the northern horizon, where the sky still carries the ghosts of a recent violent storm. According to Dr. Zager's frantic transmission, the atmospheric energy readings are undeniable. A battle, the doctor's voice had crackled, thin and urgent over the calm, of a magnitude that we hadn't seen since the original schism. Reshiram and Zekrom Pierce, both of them, their signatures are scorched into the very air north of here. The mission is a cold, hard knot in Pierce's stomach. With Kira missing, vanishing into the frozen silence of nothing, the doctor's grand design for Rose grinds to a halt. We need a dragon, Zager had insisted. One of the two. Their energies is the only beacon strong enough to lure out the hollow one. Capture one or both. They are required for the final design. Without a word, Pierce turns from the village, his form dissolving into the thick pine forests and treacherous mountain pass of the western wilds. A hunter vanishing after primordial prey. Meanwhile, far to the east, where the sun casts a warmer glow on the bustling streets of Castelia City, another seeker begins her own pilgrimage. Sienna stands at the docks, the salt spray stinging her face, her eyes holding a tempest of worry. For her, this is not just a design of power, but preservation. The whispers from the stars have grown frantic, a silent scream only she can hear. If we don't find it, she murmurs to her Aster, who chirps nervously on her shoulder. If that broken vessel remains lost, then our world, our legacy, will be nothing more than a story that has never finished. Her path is one of desperation, not data. She is searching for answers, for echoes of the past, believing the truth lies in the place where the original dragon was shattered, the giant chasm. But she is operating on folklore and feelings, a stark contrast to the cold, precise intelligence that guides her rival. Unbeknownst to Zinnia, as she charts her course westward, Pierce is already deep in the hunt, his progress measured in captured energy signatures and drone patrols. The clock, a relentless foe she has faced before, is once again ticking against her, its hands moving silently in a race she doesn't even know that she is part of. Speaking of ancient mysteries, we shift back to Turfield. The air inside of the tent is thick with the scent of old earth and paper, a humble sanctuary for history nestled in the rolling hills of the sleepy town. Sonia, her ginger hair a splash of color against the muted canvas, moves between cluttered tables, her fingers brushing against fractured pottery and delicate sketches. Lance, a pillar of crimson and authority, stands opposingly against the chaos, his sharp gaze taking in the relics with an impatience that seems to suck the warmth from the room. Unseen by either, a pair of curious amethyst eyes peer through a ventilation flap in the roof, Iris holding her breath as she watches the scene unfold below. I must admit, I'm a bit flattered, Sonia says, a weary smile touching her lips as she glances at the Dragon Master. A humble archaeologist like me, getting a visit from a member of another region's champion? Your friend up on the roof must be terribly curious too. Lance doesn't bother to look up, his arms crossed over his chest. I have no time for games, Sonia. His voice a low, gravelly rumble, devoid of pleasantries. I am here on official business from Interpol. You need to tell me everything you know about this Darkest Day event. Sonia pauses, her hands resting on a weathered journal. First Macrocosmos takes interest, and now Interpol. Why is everyone suddenly so curious in my own research? She lets out a soft sigh, her shoulders relaxing in resignation. But, alright, I'll show you what I've uncovered. She leads him to a large map of Galar, dotted with 10 carefully marked red circles, a cluster in the northern half. Strange boxes, she exclaims, tracing the marks with her fingers. We found 10 to date, always at sites that were deliberately, almost ritualistically, sealed away. Sealed away to protect them from thieves, Lance questions, his mind already leaping to motives of greed and power. No, Sonia counters, shaking her head firmly. I found no evidence of that. Everything I've uncovered suggests that they were sealed away because they were never meant to be found. It's like whoever did it was trying to hide something, to bury a secret. What secret? Lance's voice is sharp, intent. I don't know, Sonia admits, her frustration evident. That's still the mystery. The only thread I can follow is the timing. They were all sealed after the Darkest Day. And what was the Darkest Day? Lance presses, leaning forward, his shadow falling across the map. It seems to be a reference of a single catastrophic day when something happened. Sonia explains, her tone becoming that of a lecturer. The historical record is fragmented, but it appears Pokemon began to Dynamax wildly, uncontrollably. The reason why is completely unclear. Lance's eyes narrow, thinking of the raw, volatile power he has channeled in battle. The energy. Is it unstable? Sonia gives a small, helpless shrug. That's not a question for me, I'm afraid. I don't specialize in energy, but I can tell you this. The sedimentary layers from that time, we found a massive, unprecedented fluctuation in Dynamax particles. It's like the energy went crazy, erupting from a single point and just blanketing all of Galar. A grim understanding dawns on Lance's face. Could it happen again? Not just here, but on a global scale? I'm not sure, Sonia replies, her gaze drifting back to her artifacts, comfortable in the past. Until recently, Dynamax was a phenomenon confined solely to Galar. The source of its energy is still a mystery. But she hesitates. Those Dynamax pills, the ones mass-produced by Macrocosmos, they could change things. Still, that's a modern problem. My concern is with understanding the past. Lance scoffs, a harsh, dismissive sound. You'd better become interested in the present, Professor. His voice is cold, final. My experience has taught me that the past never stays buried. It always comes back, and it always becomes a present problem. He straightens up, his decision made. I'll need all of your information from the Darkest Day sent to Interpol at once. Everything you have. Sonia's face falls, a look of genuine conflict crossing her features. That's a problem, I'm afraid. You see, I recently had some funding issues with my research. Macrocosmos stepped in. Now, everything I uncover is the property of them and their chairman Rose. The tent falls into a heavy, suffocating silence. Lance says nothing, his jaw tightening. He simply turns, his cape whirling around him as he moves towards the tent flap. "I'll be in touch," he says, the words a promise and a threat, before he disappears into the turf-filled afternoon. Above, Iris watches as Sonia, looking suddenly very alone, returns to her work with a weary sigh. Iris has learned everything that she can here. It is time to move on. If the answers lie with this powerful Chairman Rose, then north is where she must go, and getting a good few battles under her belt certainly won't hurt. Her eyes scan the horizon, landing on the distinctive stone structure of the turf-field gym, and a determined grin spreading across her face. She knows the perfect place to start. With tension mounting in the south of Galar, the crisp, recycled air of the Stoneside Pokemon Center does little to clear the lingering tension between the three travelers in the north. No sooner have their boots hit the cobblestone pavements of the city than Ash is in motion, a live wire of excitement, his gaze locked on the distant, impossible silhouette of the ghost gym. "Come on, you guys. Alistair's probably in there right now. I can already feel it. Me and Gengar are going to get the answers we need about its transformation," he declares, already taking a step forward, Pikachu chirping an eager agreement on his shoulder. But a firm hand on his arm stops him short. "It's Go." "Wait, Ash," Go says. His voice lacks its usual inquisitive spark. His eyes are fixated on some point west of the city, towards the rolling, unfamiliar hills. "There's something I need to check out on my own." The statement hangs in the air, simple yet heavy. Chloe, who had quietly been observing a flock of P-Dub, turns her attention to them, her expression softening with concern. "Go, are you sure?" she asks, taking a small step toward him. "You don't have to go alone. We can come with you." Go shakes his head, a quick, almost jerky motion. He won't meet her eyes. "No, this is something I have to do for myself." The finality in his tone is a wall, and Chloe understands its unspoken language, and simply nods. "Okay," she says softly, her voice a gentle concession. "We'll see you soon then." With a final, wordless nod, Go turns and walks away, his figure growing smaller and more solitary with each step, until he is swallowed by the flow of the crowd heading west. Ash watches him go, a deep frown etching itself across his face. He shoves his hands into his pockets, the gym momentarily forgotten. "He's been different since Kalos," Ash murmurs, the words low and serious. It's like all that confidence that he had built up for himself over the past few months just got wiped out. That confrontation with Team Galactic, it really did a number on him. Chloe hugs her arms, a faint chill in the air that has nothing to do with the weather. "I know," she replies, her gaze still fixed on the path Go took. "I hope it's only temporary." It's a fragile wish, spoken more to the wind than to her friend. Ash gives a resolute nod, the fire of his mission rekindling. But now, with a new protective edge, "Yeah, me too." He turns back towards the gym, his jaw set. "Come on, Chloe, let's go." Alistair's waiting, and together they move forward, the absence of their third friend a palpable weight between them as they head for the arena. A little while later, the heavy, ornate doors of the run-down ghost Stoneside gym groan shut behind them, plunging Ash and Chloe into unnatural darkness that smells of old incense and cold stone. The usual cheerful clamor of a gym is absent, replaced by a silence so profound it feels like a physical presence. "Alistair, are you here?" Ash's call echoes through the cavernous space, unanswered, swallowed by the shadows. They venture deeper, the scant lighting from high windows doing little to illuminate the haunting tapestries that line the walls. With a determined flick of his wrist, Ash releases Gengar. "Hey buddy, we need to find Alistair. Can you scout ahead for us?" The ghost type grins, its form shimmering with a faint purple light before it zips away, vanishing into the gloom. A moment later, it rematerializes, gesturing excitedly with a shadowy claw. Following its lead, they are drawn towards a soft blue glow emanating from a large open chamber, the main battle area. There, at the center of the room, stands Alistair, his posture rigid, his attention completely consumed by a screen of his Rotom phone. He doesn't hear the soft footsteps on the polished floor. "Alistair," Ash calls out, his voice sharper this time. The gym leader startles, fumbling his phone as he spins around, his usual composed demeanor broken. "Ash, you surprised me," he stammers, his eyes wide. His gaze flickers back to his phone for a split second, and Ash follows it. On the screen, a colossal Machamp, its body radiating a fiery Gigantamax aura, lets out a ground-shaking roar as it unleashes a G-Max Chi strike against a towering Colossal. The super effective blow is decisive, and there it is. A commentator's voice blares from the tiny speaker. B secures a stunning victory, solidifying her rank at number 20 in the World Coronation Series, a devastating loss for Gordy, who plummets to 43rd. The screen abruptly goes black as Alistair closes the app, the silence returning with a weight that feels heavier than before. "Why are you here, Ash?" Alistair asks, his voice low and distracted. Ash doesn't waste a second. He thrusts his own Rotom forward, a screen displaying a frozen image from a grainy video. His Gengar, back in Kalos, towering over a bay, its form unstable, shifting wraith in the chaotic energy of a Dynamax cloud, but different. "I saw it, Dynamaxing," Ash explains, his words tumbling out of an eager rush. "But Gengar was changing. Its shape was all wrong. I thought it could be a Gigantamax form. So I figured I'd come ask you. You're the expert on ghost types in the Galar region." Alistair takes the phone, his expert eye scanning the anomalous data. He zooms in on Gengar's distorted silhouette. "It is," he confirms, his tone low, one of intense focus. "This is unmistakably a Gigantamax energy signature. But how was it able to manifest it temporarily, and without a power spot? It was exposed to a massive amount of raw Dynamax energy from those pills Chairman Rose has been producing, Ash explains. Alistair's expression grows grim. Ash, he says, his voice dropping to a serious, almost grave tone. Has Gengar ever undergone the proper ritual to attune its body for this form? The consumption of Max Soup? When Ash shakes his head, a look of deep concern crosses Alistair's face. Then, this is perilous. A Gigantamax form is not merely a size change. It is a fundamental restructuring of a Pokemon's life energy. If its body is not prepared, if it attempts to force that transformation again, the recoil could shatter it from the inside out. Gengar could be seriously, perhaps permanently hurt. Ash's eyes widen, a flicker of fear for his friend quickly replacing by a blaze of determination. He looks at Gengar, who meets his gaze, and mildly firms, a purple flame of resolve burning in its eyes. Then show us how, Alistair, Ash pleads, his voice steady. We want to get stronger, the right way. We don't want to risk Gengar getting hurt. Alistair looks from Ash's earnest face to Gengar's steadfast one, and for a moment, he is transported back. He sees a mischievous haunter, a beginning bond that has only deepened into something unshakable, a shared heart between trainer and Pokemon. He sees their history. I will, Alistair concedes, his demeanor shifting into one of urgent action. But we must leave now. Why the rush? Chloe asks, confused. The components for Max Soup are time-sensitive, and the most crucial ingredient, Max Mushrooms, only grow in one place. Alistair explains, already striding towards the exit. If we leave now, we can secure them and return before sunset. This new plan creates a dilemma. Go, Chloe immediately offers. I can try to find him and let him know. Ash pulls out his phone, but the call goes straight to voicemail. Ash places a hand on her shoulder, his expression conflicted but resolved. No, he says softly. He wanted to be alone. We have to respect that. If we're back before dark, he might not even know we were gone. We'll explain everything to him when he's ready to talk. Turning back to Alistair, Ash gives a definitive nod. We're in. Lead the way. Alistair doesn't smile. Then we run. There's a train that departs from the coast in less than 15 minutes. If we miss it, we'll miss the only boat today. The boat? Ash echoes, his mind reeling as he looks at Gengar. This was no longer a simple question for a gym leader. This was a full-blown expedition. A wide, excited grin spreads across Ash's face. Alright then, let's go. And with that, the three of them, the determined gym leader, the worried friend, and the boy with the destiny, burst out of the gym and into Stoneside sunlight, their feet pounding against the cobblestones in a frantic race towards the unknown. As they run south to the train station, we pan west. The air on the hillside is thin and tastes of dry earth, a sharp contrast to the human kiss of Drizzle's presence at his side. Go pushes forward, his breath a steady rhythm against the incline, his eyes fixated on the crest. And then, the world opens up. Sprawled across the plateau below is a chaos of color and sound that steals his breath. Not a circus, but something grander. A temporary city of trailers, cranes, and scaffolding buzzing with a frantic creative energy. A movie set. And at its heart, amidst a choreographic dance of timed explosions and crisis-crossing lasers of pure light, is the reason he is here. The dazzling film star, Jacqueline, her intelligence striking a dramatic pose beside her. But Go's gaze, sharpened by 1,000 adventures, snags on a detail everyone else has missed. A laser, misfiring with a sharp fizz pop, has kissed the canvas of a nearby prop, and where it touched, a tiny, hungry ember now glows, a malevolent orange eye winking in the artificial dust. His own eyes go wide. Drizzle, now, water gun on that ember, he shouts, already running down the slope, his body moving before the thought is fully formed. A stagehand whips around, his face a mask of outrage. You! Stop! Intruder! A single word acts like a spell, freezing the choreographed chaos. Security, bulky and efficient, materializes from the shadows, and in a tangle of limbs and shouted commands, Go is tackled to the dusty ground, Drizzle's attack dying in its throat. Don't move, a voice grates his ear. This is a closed set. I saw a fire, there, by the pyrotechnics, Go chokes out, the grit of earth on his lips. The director, a man whose fury is a special force, storms over. Get this kid out of my shot. We have to reset everything. That's when she intervenes. Wait, Jacqueline's voice clear as a bell cuts through the tension. She steps forward, a vision in her costume. He's a friend of mine. The pressure on Go's back vanishes as security reluctantly releases him. He stumbles to his feet, his eyes locking not on Jacqueline, but on the smoldering spot that has now blossomed into a visible ember. Everyone, get down! He and Drizzle yell in unison, leaping forward. For a heartbeat, there is only silence. A dozen pairs of eyes stare at him, a mixture of confusion and desertion. Jacqueline looks concerned. Go, are you alright? He is stumped, his certainty wavering under the weight of their silent judgment. I was sure, he stammers. Maybe it burnt out. Maybe he was wrong. The director's face purples. That's it. Get him out of here now. A security's hand clamps onto Go's arm. You heard him. Come on. But that's when it happens. It starts not with a roar, but with a deep progressive hum that vibrates through the soles of their own feet. Then another and another. A chain reaction of thunder as the delayed explosions triggered by the spreading fire begin to detonate out of sequence. The world becomes a sound and tremor
each blast walking its way across the set with terrifying purpose, heading straight for the pyrotechnics trailer, parked precariously near the base of the mountain. The trailer positioned with such care to protect the massive ancient mural painted on the rock surface behind. There is a unified scream, a scramble to cover, and then the world turns white, then orange, then black, as the trailer vanishes in a cataclysm that shakes the very bones of the mountain and rolls like a tidal wave over the city of Stoneside in the distance. Miles away at the train station, the sky suddenly blooms with a dirt-rolling cloud. Chloe flinches, pointing. What was that? Alistair, ever the guide, adjusts his mask. That was a film shoot west of the city. Explosions have become a regular occurrence. Nothing to worry about. But Ash is already connecting the dots, a familiar worried grin spreading across his face. He knows where Goh is. Goh will be fine, he says, shepherding Chloe towards the train. He's probably at the set, visiting a friend. Back on the mountain, smoke begins to gradually settle, revealing a new, terrifying landscape. The director's career is not only the thing in ruins. His face, once flushed with anger, is now a ghostly white as he stares, not at the destroyed set, but at the mountain itself. The historic mural, the one protected by their licensing agreement, is scarred and shattered, and through the fresh, gaping wound in the rock, something else is visible. A dark, yawning opening, the mouth of a cave, and within it, the faint geometric lines of what can only be a man-made sculpture, an ancient temple, sleeping for centuries. The director's voice is a hollow whisper. We've destroyed a historic site. The words hang in the air, a death sentence to his film career. The set would be sealed, catalogued, studied for years by archaeologists. As the man's world collapses, Jacqueline simply brushes the dust off of her shoulders. Her work here, it seems, is done for the day. She then turns to the boy who tried to prevent it all. Go, she says, her voice soft. Why are you here? Go, his heart still hammering, meets her gaze. Can we talk? I have some questions about your Intellion. Jacqueline looks from Go's earnest face to the steadfast Rizal at his side. A knowing smile touches her lips. She understands the unspoken question of one Sobble trainer to another. Sure, she says, as if the world isn't smoldering around them. Let's go get some food. With Goh now feeling like he has some direction, even if it's guided by his stomach, we shift back to Southern Galar. The scent of damp earth and old stones hangs heavy, a familiar perfume to Iris, who strides in with the confident trait of a trainer riding the high of a hard-fought victory. The coronation battle against Milo of Turfield had been a grinding test of endurance, her Haxorus finally outlasting his formidable Eldegoss in a clash that left the stadium shaking. The win is a fresh, bright ember in her chest, and the subsequent bump in the World Coronation Series ranking to 68th is a satisfying notch in her belt. She's here to deliver her news, to tie up the loose thread. She finds Sonia not amidst her usual scattered papers, but perched on the edge of a cluttered desk, her rodent phone pressed against her ear, her face alight with some kind of electric excitement Iris hasn't seen in weeks. Yes, I understand. No, don't let anyone touch a thing. I'm on my way right now. Sonia's voice is a breathless rush. She snaps the phone shut, her eyes wide, barely registering Iris's presence. Iris, sorry, no time to talk. There's been an explosion. A movie shoot went a bit wrong, just outside Stoneside. But get this, it uncovered what looks like a whole chamber, and the early scans, they're picking up energy signatures that might be linked to the Darkest Day. The words Darkest Day hit Iris's ears like a tuning fork. Her plans to formally announce her departure evaporates. Her own quest, the mysterious unopened boxes she has been helping Sonia research, suddenly feels secondary to the seismic pull of this new discovery. A slow, determined smile spreads across her face. An explosion, a hidden ruin, and the Darkest Day. Sounds like a two-person job at least, Iris declares, her voice cutting through Sonia's frantic energy. I was heading north anyway. My next battles are that way. Consider me a temporary field assistant, or your bodyguard, if whatever's down there is as old and grumpy as my grandpa. Sonia blinks, caught off guard by the offer. A wave of relief visibly washes over her. You mean it? I wasn't going to say no, honestly. The company would be brilliant. She grabs a worn leather satchel, stuffing it with field notebooks and a variety of scanners. I was hoping for a breakthrough. This dig site has gone quiet and hadn't been yielding a thing in weeks. I was starting to think we'd hit a dead end. A flicker of irritation crosses Iris's features. Weeks, she thinks, her jaw tightening slightly. So all that digging I did, all that dust I ate, was for absolutely nothing? But the thought is a fleeting one, a spark extinguished by a much larger fire of curiosity now burning in her chest. There's no time for dwelling. Never mind that now, Sonia chirps, already halfway out of the tent flap. I'm leaving this second. If you want to ride, you better get in the car, and I mean now. She doesn't wait for a reply, her form disappearing into the right Turfield. Iris lets out a grunt of surprise and dashes after her, scrambling towards Sonia's waiting car. She has barely 1 foot inside the door, her body half twisted into the passenger seat, when Sonia fires up the engine with a roar. The car lunges forward, before Iris can even pull her other leg in, the door swinging wildly. Hey, are you trying to get us killed before we even get there? Iris yells, fumbling for a seatbelt as the wind whips her hair into a furious violet cloud. She finally slams the door shut with a solid thud. Sonia just grins, her eyes locked on the road north, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. Relax, this is research speech, she shouts over the roar of the engine and the rushing air. Iris braces herself against the dashboard, her heart pounding, a rhythm that is part terror, part thrill, as the two women speed towards the unknown, leaving a plume of dust and the quiet dig site far behind. As they speed off, the winds of Sonia's clouds dust carry to the salt-tinged air of Spikemouth that hangs thick and heavy, a damp blanket that muffles the distant cry of Wingull. Ash, Chloe, and Alistair stand on the weathered wooden planks of a dock, the town signature neon sign reflecting in muted streaks on the dark water. They are waiting, a quiet tension thrumming in the misty silence, broken only by a gentle lap of waves against the pylons. Ash, never one for prolonged quiet, shifts his weight, his gaze scanning the impenetrable bank of fog that surrounds the sea. "So this place where we're going," he starts, his voice cutting through the hush. "What's the deal? Why is it so secret?" Alistair, his posture formal and composed as ever, turns his head slightly. "It is a location protected by an ancient Galar law," he explains, his tone even and deliberate. "Access is a privilege reserved for the gym leaders and the champion. For everyone else, they must be in the company of a gym leader. It is a matter of tradition and security." Then the crunch of footsteps on a gravel path behind them is sharp, deliberate. A voice laced with a familiar, prickly attitude slices through Alistair's explanation. "And what's he doing here?" They turn to see Marnie, her expression as dark as her trademark makeup, flanked by her older brother Pierce. The Spikemouth gym leader offers a silent, almost weary nod, but Marnie's eyes are locked onto Ash, a spark of pure challenge in their depths. Ash, ever the optimist, offers a friendly grin. "Hey Marnie, cool to see you here." Marnie isn't having it. She ignores his greeting, her arms crossed tightly. "I saw you come in on the train. There's no way you're here for a challenge, so spill it. Why are you in Spikemouth?" She takes a step forward, her merpeckle chittering on her shoulder as if echoing her defiance. "Me and Pierce, we could wipe the floor with you right here if you were." Ash's smile doesn't falter. It becomes earnest. "That's not it. We're just waiting for a boat. Alistair's taking me to some sort of special place so I can show my Gengar how to Gigantamax." The color seems to drain from Marnie's face for a second, replaced by a flush indentation. "That can't be true," she retorts, her voice rising. She whirls her face to her brother. "After all, my brother was taking me to that place too, weren't you?" Pierce. Pierce, who's been observing the exchange with a detached air, now blinks, a genuine look of confusion settling on his pale features. He hadn't said anything of the sort. Such a trip had never been part of any plan. Marnie presses on, her voice taking on a pleading yet demanding edge. "You know, you've been training me extra hard. I need to break into the top 32 of the world Coronation. You know, I need that power." Pierce lets out a low, slow sigh, the sound of a man who knows a losing battle when he sees one. He knows her statement is true, knows the fire that drives her. It's at this moment that Alistair interjects, his voice curious. "Pierce, does this mean you finally embrace Dynamaxing as a way to battle?" Pierce's response is immediate and firm, a flicker of pride in his tired eyes. "No, my gym is the only one in Galar not built on a power spot, and I intend to keep it that way. I prefer just regular old Pokemon battles. No gimmicks, just strength against strength." This catches Ash's full attention, his head tilting with newfound respect. A gym leader who doesn't like to Dynamax? Here in Galar? Whoa. He must be really strong, Ash breathes impressed. Seeing an opening, Marnie seizes it. A competitive smirk plays on her lips. He is. He's only second to Raihan in terms of strength. "And I'm even better than him," she declares, puffing out her chest. "So, I'll be the first one to get Gigantamax when we get to the island." Her boast, however, backfires spectacularly. Instead of intimidation, Ash's eyes light up with a thrill of a new challenge, his focus now entirely on the brooding gym leader. A coronation battle. That's it. "Pierce, will you battle me?" Pierce shakes his head, a single sharp motion. "Can't do it. I'm not in the World Championship tournament. Would be impossible." His voice is final, his priorities clear. "I'm more concerned with my duties as a gym leader and being the lead singer of my band." Ash's shoulders slump slightly, a brief flash of excitement dimming, but it's Alistair who speaks next, his voice cutting through the conversational crossfire. "The boat is here." All eyes turn to the fog. Through the murky gray, dim, bobbing lights emerge, growing steadily brighter as the vessel slightly glides towards the dock. A fresh wave of excitement washes over Ash. "All right, we're finally heading out," Alistair announces. "So if you need anything, get it now." This is Marnie's moment. She grabs Pierce by the arm, pulling him aside, her voice a hushed, urgent whisper. "I need to go. I've been training to beat him, and I can't. I won't let him pull ahead of me in strength." Pierce studies his sister's determined face, the fierce ambition he knows all too well. He relents with another, softer sigh. "Fine, I'll grant you permission. I'll be your guide. But you stick close to me, you hear? That place, it's not a playground. You wander off, and you could be in real danger." A triumphant, sharp smile breaks across Marnie's face. She turns back to Ash, her confidence fully restored. "You hear that? I'm going too. And I'll be the one to find all the max mushrooms on the island. So only my Pokemon will be the ones to get stronger." Ash, ever the diplomat, just shrugs, his Pikachu mimicking the gesture on his shoulders. "I'm sure there's more than enough for both of us." Marnie's smirk tightens. "No, there's not. Come on, you should share." "No, sharing is a good thing." "No, it's not." Their bickering dissolves into a childish circular argument, a back and forth of should to and should not, that echoes across the dock. As their voices rise and fall, Alistair turns his attention to Chloe, who's been quietly observing the drama, her Eevee curled cautiously in her arms. "And you, Chloe," Alistair asks, his voice gentler now. "Will you be journeying to the island to see if your Eevee can learn Gigantamax as well?" Chloe looks down at her normal-type partner, her brow furrowed with a thought. "I didn't even know that Eevee could." It can, Alistair confirms with a slow nod. The potential lies within it, as does all Pokemon. If you're looking for a path of greater strength, now would be the time to walk it. His words hang in the air, leaving Chloe with a weighty, silent decision to ponder as the boat, a sturdy, utilitarian craft, finally bumps into the dock, its ramp being lowered with a definitive thud. As the group boards, the wooden planks creak under their feet. Ash finally asks the question burning in his mind. So, exactly where are we going? Alistair stands at the bow, the mist beginning to part before them. A place that we call the Isle of Armor, he states, his voice carrying a note of gravity. It is a land untouched by time, a sanctuary where only high-level Pokemon reside. We will need to be careful. The warning only serves to pump Ash and his Gengar up, their eyes gleaming with identical fires of determination. They can't wait to get stronger. All the while, Marnie stands a few feet away, her arms still crossed, shooting a sidelong glare at her rival. She's still peeved that he's here, that he thinks he can just waltz in and leave her in the dust. She can't help but to think with the conviction that steals her very soul, that there's no way Ash is a better trainer than her. And on that island, surrounded by power, she will prove it. She will be the one to break into the top 32. With the wilds calling, we shift to a more civilized scene. The warm, earthy scent of black tea steeps the air of the cozy Stoneside cafe, a welcome refuge from the desert sun. Goh finds himself perched on a wrought iron chair, the steam of his cup curling towards the low beaming ceiling. Across the small circular table, the movie star Jacqueline offers a gentle smile, her posture relaxed and effortless. Beside them, the two Pokemon are a study of contrast. Goh's Drizzile slashes against the table leg, its gaze averted and its arms crossed, while Jacqueline's Inteleon stands statuesque and observant by her side, a silent, sleek shadow. Jacqueline's voice is soft, cutting through the quieter chatter of the cups. "The reason you sought me out today," she begins, her eyes flickering from Goh to the sullen Drizzile, "is to talk to me about him, isn't it?" Goh perks up, his own tea sloshing precariously in the cup. "How did you know?" Jacqueline chuckles, a warm melodic sound. "I had a feeling." That look on Drizzile's face, it's a familiar one. It reminds me of when my own Sobble first evolved. It was so loving, so playful. Then it evolved into Drizzile, and well, she gestures gently towards Goh's Pokemon. It became a droopy mess that wanted nothing to do with anyone. "How were you able to get around it?" Goh asks, leaning forward, his voice earnest with a desperation he can't hide. Jacqueline's smile turns wistful, a little sad. "It wasn't easy. I was a child star, you know. We were famous together, me and my Sobble. We were a team. But when it evolved, everything changed. Drizzile was so difficult to work with, moody, uncooperative. It got to the point that people just stopped casting us for roles." She stirs her tea slowly, the spoon clinking softly against the porcelain. "I was really starting to become depressed because of it. Everything we had worked for, our entire world, was falling apart, and I was too young to know how to handle it." "So how did you get through to him?" Goh presses, his voice barely a whisper. Jacqueline meets his gaze, her expression turning serious. "Eventually, I just had to walk away from acting. It came down to a simple, brutal choice. It was going to be the movies, or it was going to be Drizzile, and I would never, ever give up on my friend." She reaches down, her fingers giving Inteleon a brief, affectionate squeeze. "Ultimately, that's what helped us become closer. I chose him. We just left it all behind." She leans back, her story unfolding like a scene of one of her films. "Years passed. Drizzile ended up evolving into Inteleon right beside me, away from any cameras or spotlights. We hadn't even seen a movie in years. But then one day, we were out doing some shopping, and there were having an opening casting call for a new action movie. The one that was supposed to be the next big hit. Me and Inteleon saw it and thought, as a joke, we would try. Never in a million years did we think we would get the part. It had been so long. No one even knew who we were when we showed up. We were practically invisible." A brilliant, genuine smile breaks across her face. "But suddenly, we were called for our audition. And in that moment, it was like a switch had been flipped. A switch for both of us. Our timing was perfect. Our connection was deeper than it had ever been. We ended up getting the part. Then, well, the rest is history." She gestures around them, as the cafe itself is proof of her success. "It's been 10 years since that day, and we couldn't be happier. Sometimes a fresh start will do more wonders than you think. It will be exactly what you need to change things up, to help you recenter." Goh falls silent, absorbing her words. A fresh start. That concept swirls in his mind, both tantalizing and terrifying. But how would he even begin? What would it look like for him and Drizzile and the rest of his Pokemon? However, Goh will have to think about that later, for their food has finally arrived, and with all the emotional excitement of the day, the aromatic plates of food remind them both that Jacqueline and Goh are quite suddenly starving. With food now in front of them, the clatter of the silverware gives way to the wooden hull of the small boat that grates harshly against the coarse, sandy shores of the Isle of Armor, the sound swallowed almost immediately by the thick, salt-heavy air that hangs over the island like a damp blanket. The boat guide, a grizzled old man with a face like worn leather, gives the group a final stern look. "I'll be back before sundown," he grunts, his voice low with a rumble. "Don't be late, and don't even think about spending the night. This place is too wild for young folk like yourselves." With a final skeptical glance, he shoves off, the putter of the boat engine quickly fading into the misty expanse, leaving them in a sudden, profound silence. The shift is immediate. The world feels larger, untamed, and theirs alone. This is when Alistair moves, his movements precise and deliberate. He pulls out his rotom phone, its screen glowing brightly against the muted greens and grays of the shoreline. Ash, he says, his tone all business. The phones display a holographic image of a bizarre, oversized mushroom, its cap segmented and pulsating with a faint eternal energy. Max mushrooms. They grow wild here, in the most potent areas of the island. If you hope to unlock Gengar's true potential, to help it Gigantamax, this is the key. Ash's eyes widen with determination, his gaze shifting from the image of his spectral partner Gengar, who grins back with a familiar, mischievous glee. Ash then turns to Chloe, who's cradling her Eevee. Chloe, are you coming? Before she can answer, Alistair cuts in, his voice firm. She cannot. It must be only you and your Pokemon, Ash. Too many people clustered together. The wild Pokemon here are not accustomed to humans. They see a crowd as a threat. It's safer this way. Chloe nods, offering Ash a small, understanding smile. It's okay, she assures him, giving Eevee a gentle scratch behind its ears. We'll be fine right here. I have some things that I want to try with Eevee anyway. Ash gives a grateful nod. Okay, he says, his voice brimming with his trademark enthusiasm. He turns to Pikachu, perched on his shoulder, and Gengar, floating at his side. You hear that, guys? We've got our work cut out for us, so we better get started. It's barely noon, so we've got plenty of time to find those mushrooms. But his declaration is met with a scoff, a smirk playing on her lips. I'll be the one finding the mushrooms, she states, her tone dripping with a snarky confidence. So, you should just play on the beach in the sand. Wouldn't want you to waste your precious time. With a flick of her pigtails, she doesn't wait for a retort, dashing past him and disappearing in a flash in the dense, tangled interior of the island. Her Morpeko, a blur of yellow and black at her heels. Ash takes a determined step forward, ready to give chase, but a hand on his shoulder stops him. It's Pierce. His expression is unreadable for a moment before he speaks, his voice low. Ash, a favor. He glances in the direction of his vanished sister. Marnie, she acts tough, but she's got a tendency to get overwhelmed when she's pressured. She won't admit it, but I don't think she's ready for something like this. Not alone. If she needs help, will you? Ash meets Pierce's concerned gaze, and his own expression softens into one of understanding. He nods, a confident gleam in his eyes. Don't worry, Pierce. I've dealt with my fair share of cocky rivals before. I know how to handle them. For a moment, he seems the picture of a reliable seasoned trainer, and then he ruins it. Let's go, he yells, immediately bursting into a full sprint, Pikachu clinging tight and Gengar cackling as they vanish into the same foliage, desperate to close the gap before Marnie gets too far ahead. On the now quiet beach, Pierce shoves his hands into his pockets and turns to Alistair. Did you tell them how to actually find the max mushrooms? Where they grow? Alistair chuckles, a dry, deep amused sound. Where's the fun in that? A faint, almost imperceptible smile touches Pierce's lips. Yeah, he admits. I didn't either. Moving into the interior of the island, the humid air of the forest of focus hangs thick and heavy, muffling the world in a nearing stillness. Ash, Pikachu perched steadily on his shoulder, and the spectral Gengar floated at his side, pushing through a wall of dense ferns, his brow furrowed in frustration. They've been circling this labyrinth of interior for what feels like hours, with no sign of Marnie. This is useless, Ash mutters, wiping sweat from his forehead. She's just gone. He turns to his ghostly companion, a spark of hope in his eyes. Gengar, you're good at sensing people, right? Can you feel where she is? Gengar closes its eyes, its form weaving slightly as it extends its senses, but after a moment, it simply shakes its head with a defiant groan. No good, huh? Ash sighs, his mind crying. Then it clicks. That's it. If anyone can find her, it's Lucario. In a flash of red light, your Pokemon materializes, its stance immediately tense, its feelers twitching violently. Lucario, we need your help. Can you sense Marnie? Look for any other humans deep inside of the forest. Lucario nods, closing its eyes as it reaches out with its aura senses, but the moment it does, its entire body flinches. Its eyes snap open with alarm. The aura here is wrong. It's a sticky, twisted echo of something it felt long ago. A corrosive energy that feels all too familiar, like the malevolent pulse they faced in Kalos, like a final, desperate moment with Sir Errand. It takes a conscious effort to push past the dissonance, and finally, it locks into something. It's not one human presence, but two. One is accompanied by a warm, familiar energy of a Pokemon. The other is alone. Two, Ash questions, his mind immediately jumping to the rest of their group. The one by themselves must be one of the other ones from the beach, but the one with the Pokemon, that has to be Marnie. She must have found the max mushrooms already. Come on, we have to head that way now. But Alistair's warning, a grave echo from the shore, now becomes a terrifying reality. With Pikachu, Lucario, Gengar, and Ash himself all gathered, their combined life force is a beacon in the wrong place. A furious rustling erupts from a nearby thicket, and a Drapion, far larger and more menacing than Ash has ever seen, lunges from the shadows, its massive pincers snapping with lethal intent. Look out, Ash yells, recalling Lucario in a streak of red. Gengar, Pikachu, run! We have to get out of here now. The three of them burst into a frantic sprint, the enraged Drapion crashing through the foliage behind them. With every desperate turn they take, another territorial Pokemon, incensed by the humans' intrusion, emerges to block their path. A furious Scyther slashes from the trees. A pack of Growlers snarl from a rocky outcrop. It becomes a chaotic, heart-pounding dash across the mountain's face. A panicked scramble, until they finally burst through a final line of trees and find themselves in a deep, shadowy forest that blankets the entire island's inner core. The relentless pursuits simply stop. The angry cries fade behind them, leaving only the oppressive silence. Ash doubles over, hands on his knees, gasping for air. He knows this was the worst possible place to be. The canopy is so thick that they cannot see the sky, and every shadow could hide a new threat. But they're lost. Stay alert, you two, he whispers to Pikachu and Gengar. We've been over most of the island. If Marnie's anywhere, it has to be here. After an eternity of cautious, nerve-wracking progress, the trees finally part to reveal a small, crystal-clear pond. Ash slumps to his knees at the water's edge. I cannot go another step, he admits, his throat's parched. He, Pikachu, and Gengar all drink deeply from the cool, refreshing water. The quiet of the place finally peaceful rather than ominous. You know, Ash says, splashing water on his face, when we're not being chased. This place is actually really He's cut off as Gengar lets out a sharp hiss, pointing a shadowy claw towards the center of the pond. Ash follows its gaze and freezes. Just below, nestled in the murky depths, a soft, pulsating pink light glows. He isn't sure what it is until the water erupts and the Pokemon surges forward, its body enveloped with the same radiant pink energy. It's a dreadnought, but it's beginning to transform, its shape shifting into something monstrous, an ancient shell sprouting jagged rock spires, its head becoming a colossal crushing spike. This is no ordinary Dynamax. This is a Gigantamax dreadnought. Ash scrambles backwards, his heart stammering against his ribs. He knows instantly there's no outrunning this. Alright, that's it. We're battling, he shouts, his voice ringing with determination. His eyes dart towards the energy radiating from the ground beneath them. A power spot. He looks at Gengar, a fierce grin spreading across his face as he slaps his Dynamax band. Gengar, it's our turn. Let's go. Instantly, the ghost swells with colossal energy, transforming into a towering spectral giant. And from their vantage point on the distant shore, Alistair, Chloe, and Pierce see the familiar red energy pillars erupt from the forest's interior. Ash found trouble, Chloe gasps, her hands flying to her mouth. We have to help him, but Alistair places a restraining hand on her shoulder, his expression grim. We can't, Chloe. A Gigantamax battle. This is what causes the max mushrooms to grow. Ash must see this through. It's the only way. Back at the pond, the battle rages. Ash commands his Dynamax Gengar and Pikachu to attack, but the difference in power is staggering. Gigantamax energy is raw and primal. This Dreadnought is a force of nature, shrugging off their strongest moves and retaliating with earth-shattering G-Max stone surges that send Pikachu and Gengar stumbling backwards. They're beginning to push their limits. Just as hope begins to wane, Ash's eyes catch a flicker of light at the pond's edge. From the soil, a mushroom pushes forth, glowing with a vibrant Dynamax-infused pink light. Ash's eyes widen as the pieces click into place. The battle. It's making them grow, he yells, a new fire in his voice. The more energy Dreadnought uses, the more mushrooms will appear. Don't let up. Keep pushing. Emboldened, Pikachu and Gengar renew their assault, dodging and weaving, drawing out the colossal turtle's power until the ground around the pool is littered with the glowing fungi. A field of pink beacons. Now, we have to finish this and collect them. Pikachu, Electroweb on the water. Gengar, now, Max Phantasm. Pikachu unleashes the web of crackling electricity into the pond's surface, the current surging through the water into Dreadnought, causing it to seize up in a paralytic shock. In that exact moment, Dynamax Gengar unleashes a devastating wave of spectral energy. The combined force is too much. With a final growing roar, the Gigantamax Dreadnought reverts to its normal form and retreats beneath the waves. Gengar shrinks back to its size, panting heavily alongside a weary Pikachu. For a moment, they just stare, the three of them, before a wave of triumphant relief washes over them. We did it, Ash cheers, rushing to his Pokemon's side. Then they get to work, hastily gathering the bounty of max mushrooms, more than Ash could have ever hoped for. But as Ash reaches for one peculiar large mushroom, his blood runs cold. They are not alone. The colossal battle has drawn every eye on the island, encircling the clearing. From the shadows of the tree line, a horde of enraged wild Pokemon, right upon their eyes burning with the fury at the discord this human has wrought upon their sanctuary. With a unified cry of rage, they attack. Grab what you can and run, Ash yells, snatching up an armful of mushrooms. They bolt back into the forest, a stampede of vengeance on their heels. In his panic, Ash fumbles, and a precarious mushroom tumbles to the ground. He skids to a stop, his mind screaming that he can't lose a single one. It's a fatal decision. A sleek, furious Bisharp drops from the canopy, its blade-like arm poised to strike. Pikachu and Gengar are too far ahead to react, but the blow never lands. A roar, a sound of pure, primal rage that seeks to tear the very air apart, echoes from the deepest heart of the forest. It's a sound so terrifying that it frees the blood in Ash's veins and halts the entire attacking horde in their tracks. The wild Pokemon don't just stop, they flee, scattering in abject terror. And then the wrestling begins. Something is coming, something that embodies the island's wrath. Trees splinter and snap like twigs under its approach, a path of pure destruction being carved directly towards them. Whatever it is, its intent is singular, to erase the disturbance named Ash. Ash scoops up the dropped mushroom and sprints, catching up with Pikachu and Gengar. The three of them run blindly, their bodies fueled by pure adrenaline, the exhausted Pokemon unable to put up a fight. Just as the crushing presence seems to already overtake them, a blur of black swoops from the sky. Something grabs Ash, Pikachu, and Gengar, and then the world becomes a dizzying rush of wind and color. Before any of them can comprehend what is happening, they are unceremoniously dumped onto the soft, familiar sands of the beach. Ash stumbles to his feet, staring in disbelief at the impenetrable wall of trees that they were just fleeing within. How did we get out? He breathes. But there's no time to question it. They still have the mushrooms, and that thing could still be coming. We need to find the others now. It doesn't take long to locate Alistair, Chloe, and Pierce. Alistair's eyes widen at the armful of glowing mushrooms. You got them, and more than enough, he exclaims. Ash's face is pale with worry. He turns to Pierce, his voice thick with guilt. I'm sorry, Pierce. I lost Marnie. We got chased all over the island by wild Pokemon, and then we had to fight a Gigantamax Dreadnought. Pierce simply nods, his gaze drifting towards the forest. He saw the battle. Well, it looks like I'm gonna have to go in after her. Wait, Ash cries, grabbing his arm. You can't. There's something in there. Something that was so angry. I was there. Everything stopped when it started to roar. Pierce and Alistair exchange a knowing look, but before they can speak, a new voice, sharp with fury, cuts through the air. This island is stupid. From down the beach, Marnie storms towards them, her clothes damp, and her expression thunderous. She marches right up to the group. I couldn't even get 5 feet into the interior before something kept dragging me out. Every single time I got close, something would sweep me up and dump me back on the sand. Her eyes then fall to the heap of Max Mushroom in Ash and his Pokemon's arms. The sight makes her blood boil. How did you get them? She demands, her voice a low snarl. Ash tries to explain the chaotic sequence of events, but Marnie just scoffs, her disbelief plain. You expect me to believe that? You cheated. I'm going back to get my own. And just then, the boat appears on the horizon. That won't be possible, Marnie, Pierce says, his tone leaving no room for argument. Our right is here. No one is permitted on the island after dark. We'll have to return another time. Marnie protests, but a glance at the sinking sun, now close to the tree line, tells her the fight is over. Fine, she relents, the words tasting bitter, and with one last frustrated glance at the forest and at Ash's hard-won mushrooms, she turns, stalking towards the waiting boat. Deep within the now silent forest, an old man, hidden from sight, shakes his head and mumbles to himself. Idiot boy. He then turns to a particularly dark thicket where a pair of glowing yellow eyes slowly fade into the shadows. He's gone, the old man says softly. They have what they came for. They'll leave now. With a low, resonant growl that seems to only promise protection and solitude, the fearsome presence vanishes, leaving the old man to ensure the intruders keep their word. An hour later, the air in Spikeneth is thick with the scent of salt and regret as the boat nudges against the damp graffiti-tagged pier. No sooner have their feet found the solid, grimy planks of the walkway than Marnie, her shoulders set in a rigid line of fury, spins on her heels. I've heard enough, she mutters, the words sharp and low, before storming off to the shadowy maze of the city, her form swallowed by the neon-drenched alleys that lead to the gym. A tense silence hangs in her wake, broken only by the distant, tiny thrum of music from a nearby building. Pierce shuffles his feet, his face a canvas of worry apology. I'm so sorry about my sister, he begins, his voice strained. Her temper is, well, you saw. But Ash just shakes his head, a small, understanding smile gracing his lips. It's not a problem, really. He's already shrugging his backpack off one shoulder, his mind racing past the confrontation. Hey Pierce, he asks, his tone shifting to practical concern. Are these enough Max Mushrooms to split with Marnie? It's Alistair who answers, his calm, measured voice cutting through the urban din. Ash has more than enough. The ghost leader gestures to the bulging sack in Ash's arms. He can give up half of what he's carrying and still have more than he'll ever need for his own Pokemon. Without a moment of hesitation, Ash is digging into the sack, his hands filled with large glowing fungi. Here, he says, pressing a generous half of his hard-won harvest into Pierce's surprised hands. Take these for Marnie. Give them to her when she, calms down. Pierce's eyes widen, the frustration in them softening into profound gratitude. He clutches the mushrooms close. Thank you, Ash. Thank you. He offers a quick, grateful bow of his head before turning, his own mission now clear. I better go find her, he says, and then he's off, jogging in the direction his sister vanished, the precarious mushrooms held secretly against his chest. It's in the quiet that follows Pierce's departure that Alistair, ever the pragmatist, glances at the large, rusted clock tower over the city. His eyes narrow, and a flicker of alarm crosses his features. If we hurry, he states, his voice suddenly urgent, we can still make the last train back to Stoneside. The words land like a thunderbolt. A shared panic look flashes between Ash, Alistair, and Chloe. The train, in the chaos of the Isle of Armor and the tension of the return, they had completely forgot about time. We're going to be stranded, Chloe gasps, her usual composure shattered. And then they are running, a 3-person stampede through the narrow streets of Spikemouth, their footsteps echoing wildly against the brick and metal, a frantic rhythm as they weave past surprised pedestrians, their hearts pounding a desperate, unified hope that for once, time is on their side. A few hours later, the familiar worn stones of the Stoneside ghost-type gym feels like a sanctuary after their trials. Ash, Chloe, and Alistair step back into the cavernous space, the air still humming with the residual energy of their earlier confrontation. Ash scratches his head, the question hanging in the dusty air. So what now? The hard part's over, right? Alistair offers one of his rare, quiet smiles, a stark contrast to his normal, gloom self. The hard part is indeed done, he confirms, his voice a low rumble. Now I will make us some food. This gives Ash pause, his brow furrowing in confusion. Food? Now? But a loud grumble from his stomach answers for him, and he decides not to argue with the master of the gym. That's when Alistair gestures to a heavy wooden table. Sit, both of you, and watch. They comply, settling onto the rough-hewn benches with a sense of ceremony. Ash's Pikachu hops onto the table, cheeks sparking with curiosity, while his Gengar materializes beside him, its wide, mischievous eyes fixated on Alistair. With a fluid motion, Alistair summons his own Gengar. The two spectral Pokemon mirroring each other in the dim light, but they do not prepare for a battle. Instead, they begin to cook. Pots and pans float in a spectral dance, and the air fills with the scent of strange herbs. The main ingredient, the catalyst for the entire ritual, is the max mushroom Ash had risked so much to retrieve from the Isle of Armor. It isn't long until Alistair is serving up several bowls of a fragrant steaming broth. "This is max soup," he tones, placing the bowl before Ash and another before Gengar. "You must both take part. It will strengthen the bond between you, forging a pathway for Ash's spirit to fuel Gengar's latent power, allowing it to harness the energies of Dynamax." Ash's eyes widen, a connection sparking in his mind. Whoa, that sounds kind of like Mega Evolution. Alistair tilts his head, considering. I've never thought of it in such terms, as the stones are not my way. But yes, the principles of the shared power, a deep in sync, could be compared. Ash and Gengar look at the swirling, aromatic soup, then at each other. A silent understanding passes between them. "Well," Ash says, his voice firm with resolve, "if it's the only way to help you grow stronger, then we're both all in." That's when they dig in, devouring bowl after bowl with a favor that surprises even Chloe. The rich, potent flavor seems to fill them with a warmth that goes beyond mere sustenance. Even Chloe and her Eevee, both starving from the day's events, join in, finding the soup surprisingly delicious. Pikachu takes a tentative sip from the small ladle, but its nose wrinkles. The peculiar, earthy taste isn't to its liking, so it decides to forego the meal, content with the weight of the familiar comforts of the Pokemon Center. Alistair and his Gengar watch, a shared, quiet pride in their eyes, happy to have been able to guide Ash and his partner to this pivotal moment. After finishing the last drop, Ash clenches his fist, a new vibrant energy coursing through him. "Gengar, I can already feel it, like a new thread connecting us." He grins, the competitive fire igniting once more. "Now we just need a battle to test it out." His gaze shifts, landing squarely on Alistair. "Alistair, will you have a battle with me and Gengar? I really want to see the Gigantamax power in action." Alistair is taken aback, his usual composure faltering for a second. But this time, the thought doesn't close him off. He has come to know this boy, and Ash isn't like other trainers he has met. Though they got off on the wrong foot, Alistair has grown fond of Ash's indomitable spirit and his Gengar's eager loyalty. He nods a decisive gesture. "I'll be happy to have a battle with you, however, on one condition. It must be a Coronation battle." This immediately perks Ash up. "You're in the World Coronation Series? I didn't know that." "It's not something I would normally pursue," Alistair admits, "but B, she insisted. An effort, as she says, to come out of my shell. It has not worked as she intended, but I'm still a participant, so I will battle with you. We will need to use B's gym, however, to ensure our Pokemon can unleash their full power. Our battle will be a 2-on-2. B will be back soon, so we should not delay." Ash's smile is instant and brilliant, his excitement palpable. "Then, let's do it now." Alistair gives a final firm nod. A 2-on-2 it is. And with that shared understanding, Ash, Chloe, and Alistair turn and head for the door. The quiet gym, now a prelude to the thunderous battle yet to come. Moments later, as the sun begins to tuck itself behind the mountains, the air in the Stoneside fighting-type gym still hums with the residual energies of today's trials, smelling faintly of ozone and damp earth. Under the bright, unforgiving light, Chloe shifts her weight, her brow furrowed with a concern that feels heavy in the quiet space. She stands next to Ash, her voice a low murmur, meant only for him. "Ash, are you sure this is a good idea? After everything we did today, it's less a question and more a plea." Her eyes flickering from his tired shoulders to the determined set of his jaw. Ash turns to her, and a slow, confident smile spreads across his face, a stark contrast to the weariness they both feel. He knows, more than anyone, the weight of the day. The running, the searching, the sheer effort it took to get here. But a new potent energy thrums through his backpack, a promise he has to test. "We've been through a lot, Chloe," he admits, his voice steady. "But I need to be sure. I need to know the max soup works, and who better to battle than the person who made it for us?" Chloe holds her gaze for a long moment before her shoulders relax in a soft sigh. She gets it. This is who Ash is. "Okay," she relents, though a thread of worry still laces her words. "But you need to be careful." Ash nods, then turns to the small electric companion perpetually perched on his shoulder. "Pikachu, go with Chloe to the sidelines, buddy." Pikachu gives a firm, understanding cry, before hopping down and trotting to a safe vantage point, taking a seat beside Chloe and her ever-curious Eevee. Now Ash turns fully to face his opponent, his eyes aligned with a familiar competitive fire. "All right, Alistair," he begins, his voice gaining strength. "I've wanted this battle with you for the longest time. Thanks for finally letting us have it." The stoic, purple-haired gym master offers a small, almost imperceivable smile, his own gaze sharp and focused. "Just because we are friends, Ash," Alistair states, his tone leaving no room for doubt, "I will not be going easy on you." A Rotom Ref, its screen buzzing with animated excitement, zips into the space between them, its electric voice chirping. "Trainers, take your positions." The rules flash across the screen. This will be a 2-on-2 battle. The winner will move up in the World Coronation Series rankings, while the other will drop. It is in that moment that Ash's eyes dart to the ranking displayed before him beside Alistair's names on his Rotom screen. 18th. A silent, sharp gulp travels down Ash's throat. He hadn't realized that Alistair was ranked so high, a true master of his craft. The number hangs in the air, a tangible challenge, but the doubt is a fleeting shadow, banished by the resolve hardening in his heart. He already committed, his spirit already singing with the thrill of the fight. With a determined cry, he pulls a single Pokeball from his belt, enlarging it with a familiar, practiced snap of his wrist. "Let's do this," he shouts, and the arena seems to hold its breath. The The air hums with anticipation, the rotom ref signaling for the two to start. Ash sends out his majestic Ponyta, his pastel mane shimmering with psychic energy. Across the field, Alistair's Cursula emerges, a spectral, brittle coral form weaving in the air. Even with a type disadvantage, Ponyta's speed and power will win the day, Ash declares confidently. Alistair merely adjusts his mask, a quiet, "let's see what you can do," his only reply. Eager to test his perceived advantage, Ash shouts, "Ponyta, close the distance with high horsepower." The unicorn Pokemon glows with earthy energy, charging across the arena with tremendous force. Alistair doesn't flinch. "Endure it," he murmurs to his Cursula, who takes the superpowered charged hit head on, its form shredding, but holding firm. Seeing an opening, Ash immediately follows up. "Now use Psybeam." Ponyta charges a beam at the tip of its head, firing into the ghostly coral. Alistair allows a faint smile, nodding the mounting damage on his Pokemon. A predictable, direct assault. "Now, Cursula, reveal our strategy." "You scold." From its spectral core, Cursula unleashes a torrent of boiling water that drenches the unicorn. Ponyta whinnies in the pain, but worse, the damage is the steam rising from its coat. It has been badly burned. Ash grits his teeth, feeling the momentum shift. "We're not done yet. Hit with the Psybeam again." The rainbow-colored beam of mental energy strikes true, but Cursula's own ability, Perish Body, silently activates upon the hit, though the dire effect goes unnoticed by both trainers. The burn, however, is painfully obvious. Ponyta's attack is visibly halved, and it flinches as the persistent flames sap its health. Its attacks are weakening. Alistair obviously calm, and now we trap it. Pin missile. A barrage of sharp, spectral needles shoot from Cursula, peppering the weakened Ponyta, who struggles to stand. "We can still break through. Use high horsepower," Ash cries, but the burn has crippled Ponyta's physical strength, and the kicks lack their usual power. Alistair sees his finish. The pain of this burn is a chain that binds it. "Let's end this with Hex." Empowered by Ponyta's burn, the malevolent ghost energy slams into the unicorn with double its normal force. A super effective wave of spectral powers proves too much, and the Ponyta stumbles and falls, fainting. A wind whispers through the arena, silent as Ash recalls his Pokemon. The Pokeball clicking shut. "You fought hard, Ponyta. Rest now," he whispers, holding the ball tightly. He has just one Pokemon left, and Alistair's unorthodox patent strategy has left a deep impression. He takes a moment, his mind already racing, analyzing every move to plan his comeback. The tension sizzles as Ash takes a deep breath. Both he and Alistair know what his final Pokemon will be, so, with nothing else, Ash sends out his final Pokemon, Gengar, materializing with a mischievous cackle. Across the field, Alistair decides to stick with his already battered Cursula, his spectral form flickering weakly. An aggressive finish then, Alistair calls out, his voice still tight. "Cursula, use Pin Missile." A volley of sharp needles shoots towards Gengar, but with a ghostly cackle, Gengar simply fades into the shadows, its ghostly powers allowing it to completely vanish and reappearing behind the core Pokemon, the attack harmlessly passing through where it once was. "Now, Gengar, hit it with a Sludge Bomb," Ash commands. A glob of toxic waste erupts from Gengar's hands, splattering across Cursula's core. The poison-type attack is harsh, and Cursula shrieks as the toxins seep into the ancient form. "Don't let up. Use Ancient Power," Alistair shouts, desperation creeping in. Glowing rocks materialize and hurtle towards Gengar, but once again, Gengar uses his innate phasing ability, shrinking into the floor and letting the stones crash uselessly against the arena wall. It emerges directly in front of Cursula, its grin widening. Its ability makes it impossible to pin down, Alistair musters, frustration mounting. Seeing an opening, Ash seizes the moment. "Now, Gengar, end this with a Shadow Ball." Gengar conjures a sphere of concentrated ghostly energy, its malevolent power causing the air to hum. Cursula, still reeling from the poison and unable to phase away, is a perfect target. The Shadow Ball strikes dead center, the super effective ghost-type attack exploding on impact. Cursula lets out a final, hollow cry before collapsing. Gengar, have not taken a single point of damage, cackles triumphantly. This brings the battle to a final 1v1 climax. Alistair silently recalls his Cursula. He then pulls out his final Pokeball, and as he does, a glint of light strikes across his mask. In that moment, something shifts palpably. The friendly, almost playful demeanor Alistair had exhibited evaporates, replaced by an aura of chilling intensity. "Well now," he says, his voice a low, haunting whisper that seems to slither across the field, a tone that wants to cause terror. The curtain rises for the main event. "Let us see how your Gengar fares against true despair." This statement echoes in a whisper in the cavernous stadium with a command, "Gengar, bleed the shadows," as a mirror match materializes on the field. Ash's Gengar grins widely, its gaseous body shimmering, while Alistair's Gengar emerges with a more sinister curl on its lips, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light that is mirrored by its trainer's intense stare. "We need to feel this out, Gengar. Stay defensive," Ash calls, a note of caution in his voice. His Gengar nods, hovering cautiously, its form flickering as it prepares to evade. This hesitation, however, proves to be their undoing. Alistair's voice cuts through the air, cold and sharp. "Now, Hypnosis!" His Gengar's eyes erupt in a blinding, swirling pattern of red, lashing out towards its opponents. Ash's Gengar reacts instinctively, its body dissolving into the shadows beneath it, allowing the hypnotic waves to only partially glaze its consciousness. It re-emerges sluggish and drowsy, shaking its head to clear the encroaching sleep. Alistair seizes this opportunity without a hint of mercy. A weakened state is the perfect host for malice. Hex. His Gengar cackles, summoning a torrent of spectral purple energy that strikes the drowsy Gengar with an amplified force. The move's double powered by the status condition. Ash's Gengar cries out as the super effective ghost-type energy washes over it. We can't just take that. Gengar, counter with the Will-O-Wisp. Ash shouts, seeing an opening. His Gengar, fighting through the drowsiness, conjures a trio of eerie blue flames that strike across the battlefield. Alistair's Gengar attempts to phase through them, but the cursed fire adheres to the shadowy form, igniting in a painful burn that racks its body with the visible winds. Offensive power immediately diminishing. Alistair's calm demeanor fractures for just a second, a flicker of annoyance crossing his features as he watches his Pokemon struggle against the searing pain. A clever maneuver, he concedes, his voice a low growl, but this battle is far from over. It's time we shifted our approach. His burned Gengar looks back at him, its malevolent grin undiminished, awaiting the command that will turn the tide. The outcome hangs precariously in the balance, the air crackling with anticipation for the conflict to come. Ash's Gengar flickers with the unenthusiastic cackle, facing its mirror image across the field. Alistair's Gengar, its form already flickering with the faint purple flames of the Will-O-Wisp it had suffered earlier. Alistair, his voice a soft murmur from behind the mask, acknowledges the status ailment, a persistent burn, but we shall eclipse it. He rises the Dynamax band, its energy pulsating in sync with the arena. Let us transcend. Gigantamax. A pillar of red energy erupts, and Alistair's Gengar swells into a colossal spectral marvel, its massive form now towering over the battlefield. The increased vitality of its Gigantamax form immediately mitigates the burn's sting, turning a previous weakness into a minor annoyance. Ash's Gengar, still visibly drowsy from the hypnosis, shrinks back slightly from the terrifying display. Whoa, talk about a power-up, Ash exclaims, his mind scrambling. Alright, Gengar, stay sharp. We're on the defensive. Alistair doesn't give him a moment to recover. Let the shadows consume them. Max darkness, he commands, his quiet tone laced with menace. The Gigantamax Gengar's cavernous maw opens, summoning a vortex of pure, malevolent darkness that warps the very light around it. Thinking quickly, Ash makes a critical error. Don't let it hit you. Use the shadows to dodge, he shouts. His Gengar phases, beginning to melt into the battlefield's own shadows to evade the attack. A low, haunting cackle escapes Alistair. A fatal miscalculation, he says softly. The swirling max darkness didn't miss. Instead, it feeds upon the very shadows Ash's Gengar tried to use, sucking them in and amplifying its own devastating power. The super effective attack slams into the smaller ghost with catastrophic force, a wave of pure malice that sends it skidding across the battlefield with a pained cry. Ash's heart plummets as his Gengar staggers, its form flickering dangerously from the super effective blow. Gengar! The attack was massive, but it serves as one unintended purpose. The sheer, shocking pain fully jolts Gengar awake, its eyes snapping open with clear, focused defiance. Ash is now beginning to see the true depth of Alistair's strategic, terrifying strength. Across the field, the masked gym leader stands immobile, a horrifying silent aura of pressure emanating from him, making the very air feel heavy. Ash clenches his fists, a new plan beginning to form as he stares down the colossal phantom, knowing one more clean hit will end everything. Spectral chill hangs over the stadium as Ash's Gengar shudders, wreathed in the lingering dark energy of Alistair's masked darkness. Hang in there, Gengar, Ash calls out, but he knows his ghostly partner is on its last legs. A flickering burn, however, raised Alistair's Gigantamax Gengar, its colossal form weaving as the flames cut its physical power in half. Seeing no other path to victory, Ash makes his move. Now, let's show them our power, he shouts, activating his Dynamax band. With a surge of red energy, his Gengar swells, its form transforming into the massive, grinning portal of Gigantamax. The two titanic ghosts now face each other, the very air humming with spectral power. Alistair, ever the calm, terrifying professional, observes. A magnificent form, but control is key. Ash, a novice to this immense power, commands an attack. Gengar, use Max Ooze. His Gengar unleashes a torrent of purple sludge, and the viscous ooze strikes true, coating Alistair's Gengar and boosting Ash's own special attack. Alistair simply nods, a sound strategy. Now, witness focus. Max Mindstorm. His Gengar summons a psychic terrain of shimmering pink light, and the psychic energy slams into Ash's Gengar, exploding its poison typing for significant damage. Ash retaliates with a Max Flare, and a colossal fireball descends from Gengar's maw, searing the air and solidifying the burn on its opponent. The critical hit causing Alistair's giant to roar in pain. But Alistair anticipated this. The opening is now. G-Max Terror, he commands calmly. His Gigantamax Gengar unleashes its signature move, and a wave of pure, trapping dread envelops Ash's Pokemon. The attack deals severe damage, and critically causes Ash's Gengar to flinch, freezing it in place. Ash's eyes widen in panic. No, Gengar! This is the moment Alistair was waiting for, expecting the combined damage to secure the knockout. On cue, Alistair's Gengar shrinks, reverting to its exhausted regular form. The battle seemingly over. Yet, Ash's Gengar, though barely standing within its Gigantamax form, shakes off the flinch. It's still standing? Remarkable, Alistair murmurs, a note of surprise in his voice. Seeing his opening, Ash pours all of his faith into one final command. Now, let's give it everything. Our own G-Max Terror. With a final, desperate surge of power, Ash's Gigantamax Gengar unleashes its own wave of absolute terror. The ghostly energy, amplified by its earlier Max Ooze boost, crashes onto Alistair's vulnerable Gengar. The attack is too much, and Alistair's Gengar slumps to the ground, fainted. As the battle ends, Ash's Gengar reverts to its normal form. Alistair's already unconscious, while Ash's collapses onto the field, panting heavily from the strain. The referee's flag swings. Alistair's Gengar is unable to battle. The winner is Ash Ketchum. The air in the dusty Stoneside gym falls silent, with Chloe, Eevee, and Pikachu as the only audience to the climactic battle that just happened. With the residual energies of the battle, Ash's Pikachu chirps victoriously from his shoulder, but Ash's own triumphant smile is tempered with genuine concern as he looks to his Rotom phone. The numbers shift, solidifying a new reality. This win over Alistair moves Ash up in the ranking to number 26, a significant leap that sends a thrill through him. But his stomach twists a little as he sees the corresponding drop for his friend. The quiet, masked boy drops a listener to rank 35. Alistair, Ash begins, his voice laced with an apology that feels deep in his bones. I'm sorry that I knocked you out of the top 32. Alistair merely shuffles his feet, the ever-present mask tilting downward. His voice, when it comes, is a soft, muffled whisper from behind the ghastly facade. It's fine. I'm not worried about it. Before Ash can press further, a new sharp presence cuts through the post-battle haze. Bee has shown up at the end of the battle. Her arrival as sudden and focused as a well-aimed focus blast. She is happy to be home, a fact betrayed only by the slightest relaxation in her shoulders, but her sharp eyes immediately scan the scene, bypassing Ash completely to land on her protege. Ash, she states, her tone leaving no room for misunderstandings. Were you bugging Alistair again? However, Alistair is quick to interject, a little more force behind his whisper. It's fine. We just had a battle. He shifts a small, almost imperceptible gesture of solidarity towards Ash. So, you should cut Ash some slack. Bee doesn't say anything, her silence a heavier response than any reprimand could be. It's Ash who breaks the tense quiet, remembering his responsibilities. We have to go, he says, nudging Chloe. We're meeting one of our friends at the Pokemon Center. With a final nod to the two Stoneside gym leaders, Ash and Chloe part ways. But as Ash turns, his gaze instinctively locks eyes with Bee's. It's an electric moment, a silent challenge passing between them that needs no words. And in that instant, Ash feels it. A distinct, resonant shudder from his belt, as Lucario's Pokeball shakes a bit. The aura within it, and within Ash, hums in unison. He doesn't need to look down. He knows. They will have their battles soon enough. Ash and Chloe then rush out of the gym, as it is now nightfall in the city, and they promise that they would meet Goh at the Pokemon Center. Luckily, it's only minutes until they find the sterile, fluorescent hum of the Pokemon Center, a stark contrast to the wild energy of the day's adventures. The air smells of antiseptic, and faintly of the stew Chansey must be cooking in the back. It's here, in the brightly lit eating area, that Ash and Chloe find him. Goh is sitting alone at a Formica-topped table, a tray of untouched food in front of him. A congealed mass of curry and a single cold bread roll sits forgotten. His posture is slumped, his gaze fixated on some unseen point on the tabletop, his fingers absently tracing the rim of his drink cup. He is so deep in thought, he doesn't even notice them approaching. Goh, there you are. Ash's voice is a cannonball of cheer, shattering the quiet. Pikachu chimes in from his shoulder. Chloe is quieter, her steps more hesitant as she follows. We've been looking for you. Sorry we're so late. Things got complicated today. However, Goh doesn't look up. The silence stretches for a beat too long. Ash's boisterous energy falters, replaced by a flicker of concern. Hey man, Ash says, his voice dropping to a notch. Is everything okay? That's when Goh moves. Slowly, he lifts his head. The look on his face is heavy, a storm cloud of worry, fear, and uncertainty that catches Chloe's attention. His usual bright-eyed determination is gone, replaced by a shadowed intensity. He doesn't answer Ash's question. Instead, his voice is low, almost a whisper, yet it carries a weight that demands their full attention. Sit down, he says, his eyes flickering between them. You need to sit down. We need to talk. And that's going to bring us to the end of part 1 of What If Ash Won the Pokemon World Championships, Season 7, The Diamond and Pearl Journeys. Tell me, how did you guys feel about this one? As per the last episode, there's a lot of moving parts that are finally starting to see their turn in the events, with Looker and Nanu returning to the Crown Tundra, and Lance finally making his appearance at the dig site where Sonia was. And let's not forget that Iris has made her appearance again, and also the explosion that happened just outside of Stoneside, and the reveal of some new ruins that have forced both Iris and Sonia north. And let's not forget the trip that Ash and Chloe took to the Isle of Armor to secure the Max Mushrooms to finally allow Ash's Gengar to gain the ability to Gigantamax. However, there was one thing about that island that seemed off: the old man and the presence that existed inside of the forest. Will we see anything from them in the future? And let's not forget what's going on with Goh. What does the boy need to talk up to his friends about? And how is it going to affect things going forward? Let me know your thoughts, comments, and theories down below. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.